of Tanzania, His Excellency Benjamin Mkapa. Now, the mediation process led to the signing of the peace agreement, and part of it was setting up of the Government of National Unity. And this Government of National Unity was given some agenda items to implement with regard to the peace agreement. There were 4 agendas. I will not go into the rest of them, but I'll go to that one that pertains to the truth-seeking process. Agenda 4 item focused on dealing with the root causes of the recurring armed conflicts in Kenya, and this is where a recommendation that a truth commission should be set up to look into historical injustices and gross violations of human rights. Among the investigations that we were given, and the mandate period was from 1963, when Kenya attained independence, to the signing of the peace accord, which was 2008. We had to look into issues of assassination, torture, extrajudicial killings, massacres, ethnic violence, disappearances, socio-economic crimes, marginalization, and sexual violence. The commission was given a mandate of 2.5 years, but with a possibility of 6 months extension. We ended up working for 4 years. And where does the truth-seeking come in? Through the government, the act that created the commission directed us to do the following. First, establish an accurate, complete, and historical record, mark that record, of violence or violations listed above. Second, establish antecedents, circumstances, nature, context, and the extent of such violations. Third, to determine what happened, why such violations happen, and causes of violation. Fourth, provide space for victims and perpetrators to speak publicly, to share their version of various truths. Fifth was to come up with the report, not a report, of a historical record of such violations, the causes, the perpetrators, the victims, and recommendations, including institutional reforms and reparations. Now, we had various activities that we used in search of the truth. First, awareness creation around our mandate, where we invited Kenyans to participate by visiting provinces and districts, using local radio, vernacular languages, and TVs to inform Kenyans about our mandate and inviting them to participate. Statement taking, where we looked at the issues under investigation, and we developed a statement taking form that captured the issues. Then we employed 300 statement takers that traversed the whole of Kenya, inviting people who felt that the issues we were investigating affected them to record their statements. And we ended up with 40,000 statements. But also, we know that there were groups that were affected in groups, and so we invited them to come up with their memorandums to present to the commission in groups. They could be professionals, civil society, practitioners, marginalized groups. And so we analyzed the statements, and out of that is the statements where we got, and the memorandums is where we got the window cases for the hearings. We also organized workshops and invited experts to present on various themes under investigation. We hired consultants to conduct focus group discussions throughout the country on violations of socio-economic nature. But what is very more important was that we conducted the hearings. where we gave space to Kenyans, both the victims, professionals, the perpetrators, to come and share their version of their stories. And at this point, I would like to show you a short clip of how the hearings were conducted.
Before we show the clip, a request has been made that the audience please do not record it with your phones. Thank you.
Walichukua kijana ndio walikata kwa mlango yangu nikuona kijana yangu.
Wanangu aliuliwa kama kinyama kabisa.
This place is not home and you're not comfortable.
These are the true life experiences of Kenyans who have suffered gross violations and abuse of human rights, including unlawful detentions, torture, sexual violations, extrajudicial killings, economic crimes, irregular and illegal acquisition of public land, marginalization, and ethnic violence. These atrocities were committed by people and institutions they trusted.
What I saw and what has remained very distinctly in my mind today is a pile of bodies to my right. And two naked people carrying yet another body to put on the pile.
Baba na madugu zake wakachukuliwa wakapelekwa pande ya Taipoto. Sasa mmoja tu alikuwa katika family. Niliuliza baba na family zetu hizi mababa zetu ziko wapi? Naambiwa wameuawa pamoja na watu 42. Walichukuliwa wakauawa huko pande ya Taipoto.
Kwa kitu saa 11 sasa jioni. Nikajaribu mpaka kitu saa 12 juu nilikuwa nafikiria amefunga simu yake. Kufika saa 12 nikipiga simu bado tu simpati kwa simu. Nikashindwa, nikasema nikakimbia kwa jirani mwingine hapo alikuwa anaitwa Mama Karo. Nikamwambia Mama Karo, mimi baba Peter nikipiga simu simpati. Mama Karo akaniambia hebu jaribu, tukajaribu tukashindwa. Vile nilikuwa nimetoka peke yangu Mama Karo naye akanifuata. Nilikuwa nimefunga leso hivi. Aya kutembea tukafika pale Pondamali tukakuta wengine wameuliwa, wamewekwa kando, wengine wameuliwa wamewekwa kando na wengine wanachoma. Kufika pale ilikuwa kitu kama saa 4 asubuhi, mapolisi walikuwa wanatembea wengi sana. Hawakuwa hapo. Sasa mimi nikaamua hata kama ni kifo, acha niamue niangalie ni nini inaendelea. Kufika hivi nikaona amekatwa kichwa imeanguka huko.
She recalled of how baby boys were killed upon being born.
Wakati huo wanaume ndio walikuwa wanauliwa. Hata kama uko na mtoto kiasi gani amezaliwa leo lakini ni mwanaume anauliwa wakisema huyo ndio Raila wa kesho. Nilikuwa na mtoto wangu kijana mmoja. Anaitwa Peter. Wakati nilisikia hivyo nilichukua mtoto wangu nikamfungia ndani ya choo. Mtoto wangu nilimfungia ndani ya choo nikamwambia baba kaa hapa hata kama unakufa ukufia hapa tutakutoa. Wakati niliingia na kichwa wakaniuliza mama hii ni nini? Nilishindwa kueleza watoto hiyo ni nini.
leaders that I'm seeing in front here, all of them have children and wives. What did I do to Kenya so that they banned my family?
Tukiwa pale kwa boda, wa Karenjini walikuja wakaua bwanangu, sababu tuko na kwa mpaka. Ni majirani wetu walikuja wakamsuta akakufa. Sasa wakati huo, tangu wakati huo tumepitia mambo mengi, sababu yeye ndiye alikuwa anatusaidia, ana provide kila kitu. Lakini sasa kutoka wakati huo, imagine mtu ana provide kila kitu na yuko sasa na struggle na kazi hakuna, hatuna kazi. Sisi ni wamama na tuko na watoto vijana wako young. Ni vipi tutafanya waacha kutumika na hao politician? Sababu I'm sure wakati ule si wazee walikuwa wanapigana, ni vijana.
Ika nini mayai ikapigwa usiku, na huko ndio iko salama, hawezi choma nyumba ya Mungu. Fika huko kufikia kitu saa 4 ya mchana, wakuja na mama kubwa wakapiga mlango ikapasuka, wakaashia moto kwa mlango, na tulikuwa wengi ndani. Sasa hatungiona mahali pa kutokea. Sasa hata mimi mwenyewe nilirukia kwa dirisha, tukakimbia mpaka Referral Hospital.
One day at 3 o'clock in the morning, the police came to my home. I was member of parliament for Karachuani. They told me to get out. And they brought me here to Kisumu. I was taken to the PC's office. The PC was drunk, even at that time of the night. He could hardly raise his head. But when he did, he told me, he asked me, are you the woman who wants to get rid of the government of Kenya? I did not respond because I was not Mwakenya, and I did not know about the activities of Mwakenya, and God knows this is the truth. And I had a very hard time.
Mtoto atakuja saa hizi, sio mnupi, lakini baada ya wiki mbili anapata kitambulisho. Baada ya wiki mbili amepata passport. Lakini hii ya wanupi itakuwa hata mwaka. Watoto wanatabika, hatujui nini. Na wakikishia nyumba zangu zinakaliwa baada ya election mpaka sasa hivi. Hailipo hata somni. Na sina haki. Nimejaribu kwa hiyo wallahi mpaka mwisho wake nimekaa.
That is the truth that we were asked to investigate and shed light. What truth commissions usually do is paint a global picture. And so we selected what we call window cases to conduct hearings so that when I share, Choice can be able to relate to it. And so through these activities, we were able to facilitate Kenyans to share various types of truths, which I would like now to highlight quickly. First, forensic or factual truth. What helped us was intensive research and investigations that we did to capture objective truth of who did what, when, and to who. And through this investigation and research, we were able to discover and reveal concerning a number of massacres and assassinations that have been part of Kenya's dark history, including involvement of high-ranking government officials. I remember some of us had to travel all the way to Britain to obtain some of information concerning the massacres. Then we had personal and narrative truth, which revealed through statement taking and public and in-camera hearings. You saw where you could only see commissioners, but you don't see the victim. That was children's hearing and sensitive cases. And through conversations we had with women, and I think this was the most contributing factor of the TJRC process, that victims came back, shared their painful stories, and their stories were affirmed by the audience. In some of the places, in fact, it was acknowledged that, especially marginalized places, TJRC was the first government institution to go and give opportunity to people to share about their painful stories. Then we had social or dialogue truth, and these were done through public hearings, engaging with the media, and the final report. Through the media, it brought the discussions that was happening in people's living rooms and in bedrooms, and in most cases people were engaged. In fact, it's through this that some communities realize, oh, it's not only us who have suffered. We didn't know that that community also suffered the same, even more than us. For example, we knew about the Wagala massacre, but we didn't realize that we were over almost 8 massacres, some that happened in my own county. Then we had healing or restorative truth. Here, where people just appreciated the fact that they were given an opportunity to share their painful stories. I remember when we conducted the hearing, and I asked an old woman, by then she was 90 years old, who was raped, and she refused to share in private. She wanted the public to know what happened to her. And I asked her, Mama, what do you expect from the commission? And she said, that is it. I thought I was going to die with this pain, but the fact that you've come and you've affirmed, that is all that I wanted. Now, when it comes to investigation, I'm now finalizing. It was not easy for us to get some of the information that would enable us shed more light to the truth. And that is why the commission has to be very careful and has to be at least keen. Immediately we knew that we wanted to investigate this case. We went and acquired the documents, especially from the government institutions, before even the government or politicians came to know about it. Because once they got to know about it, although we were provided with information, for example, when it comes to the minutes that led to the massacres, you will be given information, but that document will be tampered with. You will not be able even to read what is there. But what we did, we were keen. We networked with the civil society organizations, with the victims themselves, and they gave us part of these documents before the government came to learn about it. The process, as you saw, is very painful. It's re-traumatizing. But right now I stand here to say that it was worth it. It was worth the trouble, it was worth the trauma, because at least in some situations, it made Kenyans to let go of their painful past for them to move on. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam Namachandra. That was a very difficult but necessary short clip to witness. Thank you again for sharing your experience as the Commissioner of the TJRC and for providing us with a brief political history of Kenya's painful past, and also for really sharing the various processes that you carried out in the truth-seeking processes in Kenya. And I just again want to emphasize the role of testimony and documentation and how crucial it is to the human rights work in transitional justice context. So thank you again. I will now hand over to our second presenter, Elizabeth Baumgartner. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would also like to thank the organizers and all of you for inviting me and letting me be here in this very important discussion and in this symposium, basically as an outsider. And I probably have to explain a bit why me as a Swiss, I'm sitting here talking about archives and preservation strategies in truth-seeking. The reason for this is about 7 years ago, the Swiss Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Swiss National Archives, together with my organization, Swiss Peace, have started a program with the title Archives and Dealing with the Past. And the idea of this program is to bring together expertise, very specific expertise required with regard to the preservation of information in dealing with the past process. Be it government-run processes or civil society processes, and that's what we are trying to do. We are trying to bring together with colleagues and partners from all over the world and to make sure that there's an exchange of information, how it is done in other places, and to help each other to improve and to develop strategies for the preservation of information in order to make sure that what the important information that is, for instance, gathered, as Tekla has just explained, this is unique information, and you have one chance to get it in a way. You can't make 10 victims this 100 times, so it's important to capture it and to keep it for the future. And there's just one chance, actually, usually to do this. So it's very important that it's kept for the future. And there's plenty of experience all over the world, and we try to bring it together, and that's why I'm here as a Swiss. And I think this citation from the French philosopher Jacques Derrida is really capturing why it's so important. Because the questions of archives, it's not a question of the past. We often think archives is something which doesn't concern us. But it's a question of the future, the very question of the future, the question of a response, of a promise, and of a responsibility for tomorrow. And archives, and I'm using this illustration of the 4 pillars we have used on the first page, the right to know, the right to justice, the right to reparations, and the right to non-recurrence, that are based on the Joanne principles, and this is just an illustration of it. Archives play a very important role in dealing with the past. Be it related to the right to know. Here's an example of the archive of the Moroccan Equity and Reconciliation Commission, which is an archive which is very well kept, which is unfortunately not always the case for Truth Commission archives, and not even archives of international tribunals. So this is a very important heritage and legacy for a nation. Not just the report of a Truth Commission, but the records and the archives. And in Morocco, they were handed over to the human rights, the National Human Rights Body, which is now keeping the records and making sure that they remain accessible as far as they are not confidential. This is a picture to show that archives are not necessarily just paper. When we talk about archives, we usually think it's just documents, paper documents or digital documents, but it's much more. And this is very important also in relation to truth-seeking. It's also artifacts, it's objects, it's recordings of testimonies, and here you see an example from the work of one of the international tribunals, from the tribunal for the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, which is an exhibit that was used. It's the rest of a roof of a school that exploded during the genocide, and it's just to show the impact of the explosion. So sometimes objects, and also in truth-seeking, are very important, and they sometimes need to be kept in a form for the future, for future generations as well, because sometimes they are more powerful than documents, and therefore it's important to understand that archives is something very holistic and something that is also developing all the time. Also in memorization, in related to the rights to reparation and symbolic reparation, archives play a very important role. Here an example from Peru, where pictures from disappeared persons are now used in exhibition and to tell future generations what happened, but also as a form of reparation for victims. And also in guarantee of non-recurrence, obviously archives are important. Here's the example of the Stasi archive, the archive of the former security police in Germany, that was almost entirely is still available and is used in vetting processes in Germany. So coming back to truth-seeking, as I said, missing person commissions, truth commissions, investigations commissions rely on documents, on archives. Numerous different archives are very relevant. It's not just government or state archives, especially if they are not accessible. It's very important that commissions can rely on information that have been gathered by civil society organizations. And as I understood, here there is a huge amount of information that have been gathered by civil society organizations. We have also seen some of the examples yesterday. So there is an incredibly rich amount and a huge amount of information available here for future truth-seeking or ongoing truth-seeking processes, be it official one or unofficial one, state-run or non-state-run processes. And then, again, these processes produce new records that need to be preserved. And that brings me to the sad reality that archives are hugely at risk. There are a number of risks to archives. There's an example here, it's armed conflict, it's attack, it's violence against the archives. This is an example from the north of Mali, from Timbuktu, where ancient archives, not necessarily archives that are related to dealing with the past, were wantonly destroyed during the conflict. There is also, during times of regime change, archives are particularly at risk because the old regime is often trying to destroy records. And here again an example from Germany.